like his of the door. 4.1. My brother did not marry the blonde, delighted girl. He married two that I know of, other women during those years, one of whom divorced him, the other is now his widow. It confuses me. The times overlap. What matters is they each adored him, with his blue eyes and broken front tooth. Light of my life, as his widow now says. And oddly into me drops this expression my mother used also. I can see her standing at the kitchen sink scraping carrots. For years after he left, she would glance up every time a car came spinning along the road. Postremo, adverb, ablative of postremos, after everything else, last of all, lastly, in a logical sequence, in the last place, finally, on the last occasion, most recently, last, for the last time, in the end, eventually, at last, in the last resort, to sum up, in short, in fact, after all, primo deinde postremo, first, then, finally. My dear Michael, for 5 years, 4 months, and 7 days, I've prayed for you, lasting at night and a good many odd times during the day. No doubt you have been through a horrendous experience during the last year, but if your feelings for this girl were as deep and good as I think, no smallest part of it is wasted. One of these years I hope I have an address for you, where I could mail a box for Christmas. Love, Mother. Donarem, from dono, donare, donavi, donatum. To present, endow, reward with, to provide, to honor, to present, grant, give to confer, to grant power to give cause to grant that, to yield as a product, give as a present, to gift, to consign, deliver, to devote, give over, to give up for the sake of sacrifice to make a present to another of a claim of a like against him, to waive, permit, concede, to spare a person the trouble, inconvenience, to condone, excuse, faults in, to forgive, let off a person for the sake of. Non donatus, without a gift. Ego te quid donem, what would I give you? Nox nihil dono, nothing is night's gift. 4.2. She never got an address for him. Indeed, during the last 7 years of her life, he wrote to her not a single word. Eventually, she began to say he was dead. How do you know, I said, and she said, when I pray for him, nothing comes back. 4.3. After that, we didn't talk of my brother. Hopelessness built a wall in her. I wasn't sure new feelings were finished arriving from him yet, but there was no practical reason to say so. It was a relief not to have him dropping through every conversation like a smell of burning hair, to be honest, from my point of view. From her point of view, all desire left the world. 5.1. What he needed from me, I have no idea. When I caught up to him in high school, he was older by 4 years. He liked me to do his homework, but that wasn't it. My moral advice he brushed aside. We're different, he'd say. He called me professor or pinhead, epithets implying intellectual respect, but we never had a conversation about ideas in our life. And when he telephoned me, out of the blue, about half a year after our mother died, he had nothing to say. Me, mother is dead. Him, yes, I guess she is. Me, she had a lot of pain because of you. Him, yes, I guess she did. Me, why didn't you write? Him, Well, it was hard for me. Me, are you sick? Him, no. Me, do you work? Him, yes. Me, are you happy? Him, no, oh no. Alloquerer, from allocor, alloqui, allocutus. To speak to, usually in a friendly manner, address, to make a speech. Nunc ego desertas allocor, alcianos. Now I harangue desolate halcyons, to appeal to, invoke, call on gods, to comfort, console. 5.2. His voice was like his voice with something else crusted on it, black and dense. It lighted up for a moment when he said, Pinhead. So, Pinhead, did you attain wisdom yet? Then went dark again. All the years and time that had passed over him came streaming into me. All that history. What is a voice? My brother's widow takes me to the church called Sankt Johannes, where the funeral was held 2 weeks ago. It is white and clean as an eggshell inside. I like cleanliness. My brother didn't care so much. When he came to stay with me in 1978, 2 weeks before he ran away, the apartment got dirty, cigarette butts everywhere, and at last I was glad he moved on. One morning he butted a cigarette in a frying pan on the stove, sunny side up.
Nunc tamen interiait
5.5. What comes to me now as I kneel in the church in Copenhagen listening to long Danish gospels and letting the sheets of memory blow on the line is that both my parents were laid out in their coffins years ago, accidentally, in bright yellow sweaters. They looked like beautiful, peaceful egg yolks. I have always admired the design of the egg, a yellow circle within a white oval, as impeccable as Herodotus' explanation of that old wise saying, custom is king of all. Herodotus' explanation. Darius summoned some Greeks and asked them for how much money they would be willing to eat their dead parents. But they answered that they would not do such things for any amount of money. And after that, Darius summoned some Indians called Calatii to eat their parents and asked them for what price they would agree to burn their dead fathers with fire. But they shouted loud and did in blasphemy. Thus, these things are established by custom. And quite right is Pindar, it seems to me, when he says in a poem, custom is king of all. Phew! Interjection, followed, preceded by names, expressing sorrow, regret, etc. Alas, followed by exclamatory accusative, also with genitive negative. Alas, followed by a command, in the sense expressing the equivalent and sad. 5.6. When my parents died, I chose not to eat but to burn them. Then I buried the ashes under a stone cut with my names. For my brother, I had no choice. I was 1,000 miles away. His widow says he wanted to be cast in the sea, so she did this. There is no stone. And as I say, he had changed his name. 6.1. When my brother died unexpectedly, his widow could not find a phone number for me among his papers until 2 weeks later. While I swept my porch and bought apples and sat by the window in the evening with the radio on, his death came wandering slowly toward me across the sea. Indignat, adverb. Contrary to one's deserts, undeservedly, in an unworthy manner, unbecomingly, shamefully,
7.1. I want to explain about the Catullus poem. Catullus wrote poem 101 for his brother who died in the Troad. Nothing at all is known of the brother except his death. Catullus appears to have traveled from Verona to Asia Minor to stand at the grave. Perhaps he recited the elegy there. I have loved this poem since the first time I read it in high school Latin class, and I have tried to translate it a number of times. Nothing in English can capture the passionate, slow surface of a Roman elegy. No one, even in Latin, can approximate Catullan diction, which at its most sorrowful has an air of deep festivity, like one of those trees that turns all its leaves over silver in the wind. I never arrived at the translation I would have liked to do of poem 101, but over the years of working at it, I came to think of translating as a room, not exactly an unknown room, where one gropes for the light switch. I guess it never ends. A brother never ends. I prowl him, he does not end. Prowling the meanings of a word, prowling the history of a person, no use expecting a flood of light. Human words have no main switch. But all those little kidnaps in the dark, and then the luminous, big, shivering, discandied, unrepentant, barking web of them that hangs in your mind when you turn back to the page you were trying to translate. Take the word entry as used of the arrangement of the contents of a lexicon. What if you made a collection of lexical entries? As someone who was asked to come up with a number for the population of the Scythians might point to the bowl at Examphius. In one sense, it is a room I can never leave, perhaps dreadful for that. At the same time, a place composed entirely of entries. Is it not astonishing? Entry. (7.2) My brother's widow says she rented a boat and went up the coast to put his ashes in the sea. At sunset, near the castle of Helsinore, she threw sunflowers after. You know what they do, she asks me. They turn around on the water. Festive, I say. Festive in their way. Many the peoples, many the oceans I crossed. I arrive at these poor brother burials. So I could give you the last gift owed to death and talk, why? With mute ash. Now that fortune tore you from me, you, oh poor wrongly brother, wrongly taken from me. Now still anyway this, what a distant mood of parents handed down as the sad gift for burials. Accept, soaked with tears of a brother, and into forever, brother, farewell and farewell. Catullus 101.